class. This is Michael Tweed here, and we're going to actually start putting some color on our Illustrator drawing. Actually, in this video, this will just be dedicated to the floor plans. I'll follow up with videos for the elevation, text, and even other rendering styles beyond that, moving from there. But we're going to focus on the floor plan. And really, as we start to think about the floor plan basic colors and the elevation basic colors, layers are going to be key. First, my general rule of thumb at this point, if something is a different color in your rendering, then make it a different layer. Beyond that, also think about layers intelligently. So unlike in AutoCAD, which you may be more familiar with, the order over here, I only have one so I can't change it, but we'll see here in a second, the order that I add new layers will change how the objects look, and when you're doing a drawing like this, you can really use that to your advantage, and I'm going to show you that right now as I start to draw. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color in, I'm going to poche in the walls. Of course, like most poches, I want them to be a dark color. So I'm going to go to New Layer. I'm going to double click to change the name to Walls, because that's what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to put it below the CAD layer. Ultimately, I'm just going to click and drag and drop. My CAD layer for this assignment, other than maybe some text or some other things that we might put on in here later on, but my CAD layer wants to remain all the way at the top. All my rendering is going to be below it. You're going to see here in a minute, even that gives us some real advantage to the rendering. So for now, I'm going to pull my walls all the way to the bottom. Now I'm going to come over here and select my color. Since I already have lines, I don't need any more lines. I can turn that off with the slash, and I can come over here to my fill, and I'm going to select a color. And I'm going to pick a dark gray color of some sort for my walls. Now, as we go through this assignment and the preceding assignments, I want you to go ahead and select your own color values. At this point, don't get so crazy about what colors you might choose. Be rational, like the fill for the walls should be a dark color. That's just traditional. It's going to look the best. We know that. But when we get into like other colors, like in this video, I'm going to do floor color, and especially when we get into the elevations, I'll talk more about it then. Start to think about it, but we are going to later on, a couple weeks from now, talk about color theory and talk about how we can use Illustrator to choose the right colors. The reality is, when I have no colors down the page, it's almost impossible to know what colors I should start with. What colors are going to work with what? What is the most important color of my drawing? I don't know any of those things yet, so I can't really go about choosing the best color. So I'm not going to worry about it too much for this video, and quite honestly, at this point, if your colors aren't perfect by the end of this particular assignment, it's fine. Because again, in a week or two, we're going to go over that, and we're going to make the colors perfect at the time that it makes sense to do that, and once we have all the knowledge we need to know to be able to do that. So anyway, I know that was a bit long to talk about it, but pick your own colors, but don't be overly worried about it at this point in time. I'm going to go with a dark gray. I'm going to say OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my pen tool, which is my favorite tool in Illustrator. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to zoom in, Alt and scroll wheel up to go to any corner, and I'm starting with the top left, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to just click on a corner, and I'm going to follow the walls all the way around. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep clicking on zoom out and zoom in as needed. I'm going to click around my entire floor plan. And you might be thinking to yourself, why are you doing this? A, and B, what is that funny shape that keeps happening over here as I draw? Like what does that mean? What's going on? Is that all right? Well, in Illustrator, sometimes your objects, A, don't look right until they're complete. You're going to see when I'm done with this, I'm going to make my whole plan dark gray, which brings up the second question, why are you making your whole plan dark gray? Well, I'll show you why. It's because of how I'm going to use layers to be smart about it. Because if I were to really click around each of the individual walls, which I could do, it would take much longer to do. And B, if I use live paint, which I hate to use live paint because it will restrict various things moving forward. So it's sort of an easy trick to not do that. So I'm basically just following all the way around where my walls are. Now there's steps here, there's a porch here, things like that. I don't need to worry about that. We'll come in and fill those in a different color in a couple minutes from now. But I'm just going around and filling all the way around like this. Oops, and I missed that spot a little bit, so I'm going to just Control Z to undo that and get a little better click here. But I'm going to do that, and I'm going to click around, and notice there's a little circle next to my pen tool. That means my shape is closed. I like when that happens when I click, so I'll just do that. And that's my wall layer for that floor plan. Actually, I should come in and also do the fireplace over here. So click, because this is a cut line as well, so I'll make it nice and thick. But you'll notice it doesn't look like walls, does it? I wouldn't want to turn in this all dark colored like that. That's not a great rendering technique, but the next step it'll become much more clear. Before I do that, I want to point out a couple things. One is semi-intentionally, but it doesn't really matter. I'm using the line weights from AutoCAD to my advantage. This is one of the advantages of setting up your Illustrator file the way I did, which is particularly down here. If I zoom in here, we can see that I did not snap perfectly to this corner. And my line, the red line, which is not the color, a lot of students get this confused. That red is just showing us it's an object, and it's tied to this little dot right there, and that line right there. But that's not it's not the color of my object. It is dark gray. In fact, there's no line color on this. That's a side note. What I really want to say, though, that the object does go at this angle, but from zoomed out far away, and because I have thickness from my CAD layer, you don't even notice that. Now, you do see a little line right there, but we're going to fill in windows at another point in time, so I'm not even concerned about that. In the next step, I will show you what happens. What happens if you do click and you need to edit it? Well, I'm going to show you that when I go through the next tool, so don't worry about that, but you can always change it. My point is, you don't have to be overly crazy about getting it perfect, because it's just a rendering, and B, the line weights hide a lot of mistakes, which is great. So I'm going to lock that layer to move on to my next. I always like to keep all layers locked except for my active layer. I am not in this video going to render the second floor plan, but you will have to do that. I generally recommend that whatever you do up to the first floor plan, you do to the second. I'll show you the completed sort of work at the end of the video, and you can use the same layer. So I could have kept on the wall layer and done the same thing to my second floor plan, but I'm going to just move on right to the first floor plan for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer with this button. I'm going to put it above my walls. I'm going to call it floor. And I'm going to go and select what I think my floor color to look like. And in this case, I think I'm going to go to maybe a brownish orangey color, but I'm going to just take it away from there a little bit. I'm going to lighten it up quite significantly, maybe to somewhere around here. Again, pick your own color, but we're still really early to get it exactly, so we'll just go with it. So I'll select this color and I'll say OK, and let's make sure I got, yeah, I'll go OK with that. And I'm going to go back to my pen tool. Now this is probably the longest step that we'll have in this video and really in sort of the series of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in to the corner, any corner, but I'm going to go to the inside of the house. Like for example here, I'm going to click there. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to follow the inside of all the walls. So I'm going to hit this corner, and I want this wall to stay dark, so I'm going to have to come down through the bathroom. And when I come here, I'm going to click here. Now, this also wants to be clear. This is a door, so I'm following the wall. So I'm going to go through the door into this little corridor that I have here, up into the closet, and up and around. Up through the closet, up to the edge of the door, down, down, into the bedroom, and down and around into this corridor. Oops, I misclicked a little bit. I'll just Control Z. And I'm going to keep doing this. I don't know that I'll be able to fill words into all of this, but I'm literally going to do this all the way around. Pay note if you're going to skip ahead in the video, because I do sort of need to do this. Pay some attention to when I get to the stairs, because I'm purposely going to make a couple mistakes there for a variety of reasons, because I want to show you how to handle that unique situation that'll occur down there. But otherwise, I'm just going to click around all the way around, staying to the inside of my wall. And when I'm done clicking all the way around, what we'll have is the floor filled in. And what will be remaining, because the floor is on a layer on top of the walls, will be a perfectly pochade walls. So stay tuned for that. I could make choices like around the kitchen. I know I'm going to put some color in the kitchen, so I could trace the outline of the fridge and the cabinets rather than going up to the wall if I want. It really won't matter because of the layer orders. But I'll come down here, come down here. And now since this is a door, and I want to come all the way through to the front of that line right there, and up and around into this closet. So we can start to see the stairs over here on the left-hand side, and we can note that there's a solid wall right in here. And so if I were to come all the way down with my line and up, we would be covering up this wall right here, which needs to be pocheted. Now there's multiple ways of solving this issue. I'm going to do what I think is easy for a beginner, and I'm going to start by making a mistake. So I'm going to do the stairs in two fields rather than one. So I'm going to click there, and I'm just going to go all the way across. I know it's not perfect for now, but I'm going to go all the way across to there, and then continue around the same method. I'm going to finish going around the floor, but what I'm going to have to do is come back and finish the stairs in a few steps from now. Not only am I going to show you how to do the stairs to finish them up, but I'm going to show you, in case you need to know, what happens if you accidentally miss some corners or don't get the corner quite in the right spot and you need to go back and fix it later on. And I'm just going to use that as that example. So that could happen anywhere. You might misclick here. Maybe you miss this little wing wall that I'm working on right now, and you might need to go back and fix it. And what I'm going to do at the stairs will be applicable to any of those locations. But I'm almost done here. So I'm coming up, I'm coming around this bathroom, coming back to the start point, and you'll notice as I get back to the start point, I'm going to click so I get that little circle on my pen tool so it's closed object. And generally, except for the stairs, which I purposely did wrong there, we see I've got the floor plan filled in and the pocheted walls look like pocheted walls just by using my layers. It really is sort of the easiest thing that I think it can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and say, oh shoot, you know what? That's not pocheted. That should be pocheted, but it's not. How do I get that? Well, what you can do is if you click on the pen tool, if I click on a line, I start adding points right on the line, right? Now, what students want to do is they want to add points here and they start drawing a new shape there. That's not what you want to do. I want to click on the line and add a bunch of points, because the first step to fixing this is to add corners for all these locations. The next thing I'll do is I'm going to come over to my white arrow, the direct selection tool. I'm going to click on just one point and I'm going to move it to where I want that corner to really be. The next one comes up over here, the next one comes up over here. And so anytime I mess up or I don't have the points quite in the right spot, that's what I can do. Now I didn't add enough. I actually need 2 more points. I need one right there and one right there. So I'm just going to go back to my pen tool, click anywhere on that line. It'll add some more points, and I can go back to my white arrow, as I call it, and click and move them around. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to get all of this area to also be the same color. So I'm just going to go back to my pen tool, and I'm going to start down here away from my line. If I start up here, I might try to click on that line and it might remove the corner. So I'm going to start where I don't have color on this layer, which is down in the bottom, then click up and around. In fact, I can even go higher if I want, and then come down and follow the wall correctly and come up higher there, just to make sure there's a nice overlap. Come and close the corner. The reality is, for this assignment, that's fine to have 2 objects, but there is ways of combining that into the same shape. In fact, there's ways I could just have done this whole thing and come cut the hole later, but I think that's all sort of advanced stuff that we don't need to worry about today. And so my interior floor is done. I still have some floor areas that aren't colored. This guy over here and this porch over here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make another layer for that. In my case, you can choose to do what you want to do. I'm going to call it floor light, and I'm going to go to this color and just double click over here and lighten it up a little bit, give it a different shade to sort of highlight that this is, something else. A porch, some stairs, and you can even use a hint in the second floor for something. And I'm going to come here, again, click around the fireplace. Close off this object here, and do the same thing for this front porch or front set of steps here and here. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to color in is my windows. We'll see in this case, the windows shouldn't be a dark poche. And again, I'm going to use the same technique while putting a layer on top of it. Will make that poche sort of ultimately the final way it looks. Now, so I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call it Windows. And I'm actually going to I'm going to change my color over here. And I'm going to go all the way to pure white. A lot of students, they'll think, oh, windows are blue, especially in elevation. We're going to talk about this later when we're going to talk about window color. Throughout the entire semester, we'll keep talking about it. Nonetheless, what I'll just say for now is, A, windows aren't blue, even if you're looking at the glass. But B, in a plan, we're not looking at the glass. What we're really looking at is the sill, which is really trim. And I'm going to use white because, right, I don't know what color my trim's going to be yet. Maybe when I do my elevations, that'll sort of tell me some clues. But a lot of times people make trim white. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now, you could say, hey, well, if it's going to be white, why am I putting color? If I put my walls around there, I wouldn't have to put any color in there. That's sort of true, but A, not only do I think it would have actually taken longer to do still, but B, as we move through the weeks of this assignment, we are going to have color over everything. And so I need to put, if I want it to be white, it's going to have to be white. Otherwise, it's going to show through to other colors that I'm going to put in other weeks. So just keep that in mind. Nonetheless, that's why I'm using white. And I'm going to use my box because most of these windows are boxes. So I can just click, hold, and let go. You can see it fills that right in, and I can go right around my entire assignment at all the windows. Whew. Sorry about that. It went a little faster than I anticipated there. Don't get too seasick. For the interest in time, I don't know that I need to necessarily fill in all the windows for you guys to look. It's pretty simple using this rectangle tool. So just let me do this one. I'm going to do the one at the door because I know that's a little unique. I think the way I'll handle that is just to go like that. You know, why not? I've got just a few more. Might as well go through and do them all here. Okay, like that. All right, that's good. My windows are done on my first floor anyway. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in with my rendering other things that are sort of built in or you know, stay with a house. So things like the bathroom, the toilet, the sink, the tub, the washing machine, the kitchen counters, and all of that. I'm going to do it just for simplicity's sake. At this point in time, I'm going to make them all white. I'm going to call other plan things just because I don't, it's a collection of things. I'm going to make them all white for now. You don't have to make them the same color. You didn't have to make your trim white there. You could have made another color. You can make these various colors if you want. But I'm just going to go ahead, just to keep things simple and fast, fill in a lot of this stuff in white. I'm going to use my rectangle tool for everything I can. I'm going to show you a trick for the toilet. It's not so much a trick as just understanding how to think about Illustrator in a second, but let me go fill in the simple rectangle things first. Actually, I guess I should have gotten the fridge. Let me delete that. I just hit the delete key. I might go and use my pen tool just to get this as one object. You could do it different objects. I mean, especially the counter. I mean, white countertops are a little more unique, so you might think about making the sink, the stove, the fridge white or silver. If you want stainless steel, and the countertops might be a different color. I'm just sort of keeping things simple, and I want you guys to sort of think about part of the assignment will be colors. So again, just like in my line weights, I didn't tell you what the right answer is. I don't necessarily want to tell you what the right answer is here either. I want you to discover it and think about it. Of course, a toilet being white is quite common. Let me show you what I'd like to do, not with toilets, but really what you have in a toilet, which is a curve here. And again, I'm going to use the fact that my CAD layer is a different layer, and it's got line weights on it to my advantage. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click around various points. And my toilet is really this sort of crinkly shape. But as long as I keep it within sort of the bounds of the line weights, you never see it, because the AutoCAD drawing made it a perfect curve. And when I sort of close it off, we got something that looks like a perfect curve, but it took a lot less time doing. Can you draw curves in Illustrator? Yes, but they are a lot trickier to use, and so why do it? The way I did it was fairly fast, all things considered. Now I'm just going to copy it by using my black arrow. I'm going to go over and hold ALT to make the copy of that, and then I'll rotate it, get that little curvy line at the corner. And if I hold shift, it'll snap completely in the opposite direction. then move it just sort of into place just like that for the other toilet. And I can lock that layer because I've sort of finished this up. I haven't quite finished the floor plan rendering, but I'm going to start ending the video now with a couple of final comments. One is, do the exact same thing to the second floor. You can use the same layers, and I recommend using the same, not the same colors I did, pick your own colors, but if your floor is one color, use that, the same thing. If your toilets are one color in the first floor plan, use the same color in the second floor plan, so on and so forth. But make your own choices. I haven't filled in the furniture. You may choose to fill in the furniture. You may choose to have different floor patterns. Say a bathroom is a different color than the living room because maybe one's tile and one's wood. Now, I'm not saying you should render, certainly not at this point, tile and wood, but you might begin to use different colors. I recommend simplicity though, but furniture might make sense to color. Some other things might make sense to color a little differently than I did. So feel free to think about it. I, of course, always like to save drawings, so I'm gonna save this work here. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pop over to this file, and you can see my layer set up in order, right? The order is really important. It's basically the same as I just did. But what I have done is I sort of finished through doing the first floor, and I finished through doing the second floor to this level. Again, as we move forward with this assignment, we can go back and change these colors whenever we want. And by putting the different colors on different layers will sort of help that process as well. So good luck in selecting your colors. Good luck in doing this floor plan. And we'll continue in the next video with putting color on the elevation.